I have a comparison of JJ Bleday that will make you excited for him to be a Red for a very long time.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi there, I'm Stephen Offenbaker. He's Jeff Carr. You are Locked On Reds. Thanks for being an everydayer. We appreciate it so much. A little bit later in today's show, we're going to get you set for a series out by the bay in San Francisco as the Reds head to McCovey Cove and hopefully can get something done. We'll tell you all about that here in just a few minutes. Also, is Dane Myers finally showing some flaws? He was brought here to be a part-time player. He has found himself having everyday playing time. Could it be exposing some chinks in the armor? We'll talk about that here in just a minute. But where we are going to begin is with JJ Bleday, because if you watched the last episode or listened to the last episode of Locked On Reds, you know that over the weekend we conjured a cycle. That's right. We called out JJ Bleday for not performing, and he went out and hit the cycle, Jeff, as is par for the course around here.
Usually what happens, like if we call it like it is and we say, hey, guy's struggling, like he was in the middle of a slump, then he's going to go off. And that's exactly what he did on the huge game on Saturday where everybody in the Reds lineup seemed to have a day. I mean, Elly had 4 hits and 4 runs scored. Hector Rodriguez hit his first career home run, whatever. The point here is JJ Bleday, because that cycle was a beautiful thing. And I think I've come to terms with this because it feels as though the Reds believe this dude is an important part of their future. While I still believe that the existence of JJ Bleday in the outfield does not preclude the Reds from needing more outfielders. They should go get more outfielders. I have come up with a comparison that now makes me excited for the Jeffrey Joseph Bleday experience here in Cincinnati. And that is, Steve, JJ Bleday is today's Jay Bruce, because JJ Bleday and Jay Bruce, very, very similar in my book. JJ Bleday, very streaky. We've seen some great streaks. We've seen some bad streaks. Jay Bruce, very streaky. We remember the good streaks usually happen in the month of May. And then we remember the bad streaks usually happen in the month of July. And of course, he has the moment. He has clinchmas. JJ Bleday doesn't have anything like that yet. But hey, Jay Bruce never hit for a cycle either. So there's something here that I believe that JJ Bleday can fit into the Jay Bruce role, because also consider this. Jay Bruce was not the most important player on his team. Like, he was arguably the third most important. You had Joey Votto, Brandon Phillips, and Jay Bruce. Like, JJ Bleday is firmly behind Sal Stewart and Elly De La Cruz. I don't think anybody would argue that. I think if I think of it in these terms, give me JJ Bleday for a nice long time here in Cincinnati.
Oh, boy. I don't know what's in your coffee cup, but don't have any more of it. Listen, my opinion on JJ Bleday has not changed just because he went out and hit for the cycle. It was great. How cool, great, nice, a cycle, yay. Doesn't change the fact that the Reds are looking at him as outfielder number 1, when at best he is outfielder number 4. You talk about Jay Bruce having other guys around him. That's not necessarily it. There were legitimate outfielders around him. There are not legitimate outfielders around JJ Bleday. We're going to talk about Dane Meyer coming up here in a little bit. Even he, who has outperformed our expectations, has started to show some signs of exposure from extended playing time. The only thing that's really going to make me comfortable with JJ Bleday and him being around here for multiple years is for him to be the 4th outfielder on this team. And that means the Reds need to go get 3 other ones, because right now there's nobody that has established themselves as taking that job. Spencer Steer is not a real outfielder. Hector Rodriguez is still too new to really know what we have in him. Dane Meyer is exposing flaws currently. TJ Friedl has outlived his usefulness. Noelvi Marte probably is never going to sniff the big leagues again with this organization anyway. So the Reds need to go get themselves some outfielders. JJ Bleday, Jeff, is a role player. JJ Bleday is a guy that can give you a little pop from time to time, that can fill some innings when innings need to be filled. But he is who the back of his baseball card says that he is. He is a 90-ish OPS plus player that at times is going to play over his head and make you be excited. But when the season ends and the day is over and the season is a wrap, and you look at the back of that baseball card, that OPS plus is going to be 90.
I'm intrigued by this because his career OPS plus right now is 102. And it's inflated by this year's, but this year's is not like remember back in June, I think it was like 140 or something. It's come down. It's come much more down to earth. It's 114 as opposed to 140. So it's not as if it is artificially inflated by a tiny sample size this year. And I think that we are seeing a little bit more from him. Plus, Jay Bruce was a guy. What do you think his OPS plus was as a Red?
I don't have his thing pulled up in front of me because you love to do this to me, but let's say his OPS plus as a Red was, I don't know, 112, 115.
Right there. Yeah, exactly that spot. Like that's where he was officially one. Sorry, just clicked off of that. 110 was right where he was. And, you know, I mean, JJ Bleday in a tiny sample size is currently 114. I think that he could build upon that. But I think that you're right in that he is more of a righty masher, not a lefty masher. I think he's getting more exposed to lefties, but that's the same with Jay Bruce. Jay Bruce didn't hit lefties very well either. And yet there were moments that he provided. I think that there's something to this JJ Bleday thing. I think fourth outfielder, I could live with him as a third outfielder. If the Reds go get two more outfielders.
That's a starter. That's an everyday player.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know too many outfields right now that are three guys. Period.
So let's just be clear.
That includes
let me
the
be
Dodgers.
clear. Let me be clear what you're saying you want out of JJ Bleday. You want him to be the left-handed side of a corner outfield platoon. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I guess if the Reds can't overhaul the entire outfield, I can live with that. He cannot be a player they're expecting to play 150 games and just go out there and start every day. He will be exposed quickly if the Reds look at him like that. And I'm scared that at least under this current front office, God help us, that's exactly how they look at it.
Yeah, and that's one that I think I'm trying to manifest this a little bit too, where it's just like if we can correctly label these guys for the front office, maybe they can understand what's going on here. And I guess maybe comparing him to Jay Bruce makes it seem as though he's some sort of hero. I think that there are chances for JJ Bleday to provide moments for the Reds like this. But do you think that, I mean, we are a little bit worried here that a cycle probably, you know, gives him opening day left fielder starting nod like easily.
Not hurt my feelings if Nick Krall cheats off our test, buddy. If he wants to look at our player evaluations and run with them, go with God, Nick Krall. You can have them for free. Just please use them all. Don't just take bits and pieces of them. But I think that the reality of this, Jeff, is that we're stuck with JJ Bleday and he's not going anywhere. The question is, how do the Reds view him? And how can you maximize the production that you can get out of him? Can he be valuable? Can he be a piece of something that makes the Reds better for the next couple years? Because that's how long he's going to be around here. Can he be that? Yes, he can be that. But this front office, this coaching staff has to put players in the position they need to be in to be successful. The Reds have not done that. And making him a 150-game everyday player will not get the most out of JJ Bleday.
I do want to push back a little bit on the stuck term. I like that he's here. I think I have come around on this. I think that I am going to be okay with the fact that Jeffrey Joseph Bleday is manning the outfield as much as he is. But I do agree with you. He's got to be put in a good position to succeed. Just like everybody else on this roster needs to be put into a good position to succeed, Steve. And as much as I would like to see this continued experiment of Dane Myers playing every single day, it seems as though him playing every single day is exposing something that isn't so great. And it was called out by a former Red. Running a business shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together in the first place. You've got one app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, and somehow none of them talk to each other. That's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform. From sales and accounting to inventory and marketing, everything works in one place. Odoo is one platform to manage, grow, and scale your business. The best organizations know that success isn't just about talent, it's about having everyone working toward the same goal. And while that's true in sports, it's true in every aspect of business. Great organizations win because operations matter. And that's why you should get Odoo. Try free today at odoo.com/lockedon. That's odoo.com/lockedon. Thank you for making Locked On Reds part of your day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network in the country. I also invite you to join the Locked On Reds Everydayer Club. We have a link in the show description down below. There's also, you can type in lockedonreds.supercast.com to learn more about this. $5 a month, $50 for the whole year. You get an ad-free audio podcast feed. You get access to a special chat via Google Meets with Steve and myself once a month. We will announce that first date here coming up very soon. Like I said, click that link down in the show description. All right, Steve, there's been some interesting moments over the last week, just to put it mildly, with our friend Dane Myers, because I've been very happy on the whole with what Dane Myers has put out there this season. He has mashed lefties like we hoped. He's gotten better against righties like we had hoped. But the fielding has been a little bit interesting. And there was that play on Thursday in which it cost the Reds the game, because had the ball been caught, the Reds would have won. This was the most overt example of a error costing a team a game that I've ever seen. And you and I discussed, was it Dane Myers' fault? Was it TJ Friedel's fault? Whosever fault it was odd that they were both in that position, because it kind of felt like there was a lot of weird things going on in that play. But there were also some weird things in Arizona this weekend too. And different things that Dane Myers is starting to do on an everyday basis. Is it changing your mind on Dane Myers? Because I still want to see more from him, but I feel like overall we're starting to see the Chris Heisey effect, right? Like we all remember Chris Heisey, right? Everydayers remember Chris Heisey, and like, dude, if that guy plays every day, he can bat third, he can bat fourth, and then he played every day and he couldn't hit his weight, and that seems to happen with guys. As you play more, you get exposed. Is that what we're seeing with Dane Myers?
Yeah, I don't think so, because offensively, he's still the guy that I want out there, especially right now. There's nobody else. I don't know who you're going to replace him with. If the Reds go out and get a legitimate center fielder to replace him, cool. But right now, he's your best option in center field. It's not TJ Friedel. We talked about that play on Thursday. I still think Friedel should have got out of the way. But we'll get into that more here in a second. You look at the last 30 games, Jeff. Slash line for Dane Meyer over the last 30 games, 265, 348, 357 with a couple home runs. Offensively, he's still performing better than any of us expected him to do in full-time playing time. Now, we thought he would go out there and mash in a platoon situation, but we didn't think that TJ Friedel was going to be so bad that Dane Myers had to play every day. But here we are, and offensively in the lineup, Dane Myers has delivered, continues to deliver. Defensively, I think this is just a rough patch. Now, we see in that play on Thursday, Dane Myers was well into left field nearly, calling the ball. But the center fielder is the captain of the outfield and has priority whenever they call a ball. TJ Friedel didn't move. TJ Friedel didn't get out of the way. I'm putting the blame for this on TJ Friedel. He should have moved. But interestingly enough, former Reds outfielder and commissioner slapper Tommy Pham weighed in on this. Tommy Pham currently trying to get his way back in. This is a 10-year veteran of Major League Baseball, trying to get his way back into the bigs, playing in the minors. Tommy Pham weighs in on this and says, and I quote, "What's going on is we have center fielders today who know the value of stealing catches to help their outs above average numbers go up, because it improves your WAR, so you can have this in a game that is A game that is lost because the center fielder didn't want the left fielder to catch the ball because he wanted the points, he wanted the stats, he wanted the catch because he wants
the credit.
To get paid. He wants to get paid. He wants to get paid. This is the same thing we've been talking about with the Sal Stewart versus JJ Weatherholt debate because wins above replacement, one of the fueling factors of that are the defensive metrics that have been invented over the last 10 years to quantify defense. They factor into the WAR. The WAR gets you a number. Your number gets you paid. So there is some truth to this. Now, look, I hate the fact that I am now forced to be in a position where I have to agree with Tommy Pham. But what happened?
This is what 2026 has done to us.
This is where we're at, Jeff Carr. But what happened after this boggles my mind. Now, look, this is so mind-boggling that I didn't believe it was real. I had to go out and verify that it was real. And courtesy of an Athletic article written by C. Trent Rosecrans, we have confirmed this is real because Dane Myers saw this. And what followed, and you can go read this for yourself on social media, was a back and forth debate exchange of Dane Meyer and Tommy Pham kind of going after each other, whereby Dane Meyer took offense at being called, self-motivated and being greedy and selfish. And Tommy Pham basically doubling down and saying, if the highlight clips fit, wear them, because Tommy Pham posts a 1 minute long montage of catches where Dane Meyer seemingly comes out of nowhere and steals the ball basically out of position.
And to your point, this compilation, every other corner outfielder got out of his way. The whole TJ Friedl argument, should TJ Friedl just have gotten
Everybody
out of the way?
Moved. Yep.
Was he going to make the catch? He didn't make any other errors in this compilation. It was kind of funny to see, but you're right. There was a battle between Dane Myers and Tommy Pham on Twitter where, Tommy Pham started by calling him selfish, and Dane Myers tried to.
He's lucky he wasn't in slapping distance, buddy, because this was going to end badly.
Is this a Twitter slap?
This was going to be a Twitter slap. This was a Twitter X slap from Tommy Pham.
X slap. That's what it was. Because Tommy Pham even doubled down. He was just I've got texts and I'll share them, but I don't want to share them because I don't want to, hurt anybody's feelings or anything. But I got texts of people that say that they don't like you and all this weird stuff that, honestly, if you'd have changed the names to people that you went to high school with, you'd be yeah, no, this makes sense. This kind of feels like social media now. But these were two professional baseball players. What are we doing? It's hilarious that came to this.
This is the kind of crap that happens when your team is 7 games under 500.
Yes, it is. Because you feel for Dane Myers, who is really trying to earn a spot, and I can see I don't think I call it selfish. I think I call it almost over motivated, where he's dude, this is the first time in my career that I have gained the ability to play every day, and I am not going to let go of that. And how do I not let go of that? I become indispensable both with my glove and with my bat. And if he can show that he's got this range, we know he's got the arm. He's got to have a little bit better arm accuracy, but he's got the arm strength. But if he can show his range and put that all together, then yes, he's an everyday center fielder. But if that's going to come at this cost, and maybe this is what we have to watch now for him to turn into that, is where he struggles for the rest of this season trying to make those plays. And then he understands next year, okay, you know what? Maybe the left fielder's got that one. Then I think that will ultimately result in what we all hope.
Let me ask you this. Let's go back to Thursday. If TJ Friedl takes 3 giant steps forward and gets out of the way, does Dane Myers catch that ball? What percentage would you put on Dane Myers catching that ball? I'm saying it's a 90% catch if TJ Friedl gets out of the way.
I don't know, though. He was in full stride. I'd give him better than 75% chance. I don't know about 90. I'd say if TJ Friedl is out of the picture, and if Dane Myers does not have to worry about the presence of TJ Friedl and running into him and possibly knocking the ball out of his glove, which is what he was worried about. If you watch that highlight, you can clearly see that. then I give him an 80, let's say 85% chance that he catch that ball because he was in
See,
full stride.
not,
he was reaching. That was not an easy catch.
And then we're not having this conversation, and that's kind of what I wanted to get to, Jeff. I think that I don't necessarily believe that what has happened over the last week really changes what I think or how I feel about Dane Meyer. I think where I have arrived with Dane Myers is that he has now played himself into being a viable option, and he has graduated into, I need to see if this is repeatable. I need to see if he comes out next year and does this again. Can he be the everyday center fielder next year? Can he duplicate this performance? Can he continue to give me 260, 340 with a little bit of pop? If he can do that, he should play every day. And I don't think this one play, I don't think this 1 week, I don't think that error on Thursday, the error in yesterday's game where he overran the ball and then slipped, I don't think that really changes how I feel about this. I really think he has played his way into a spot where I can confidently say, this is pretty good. Can you do it again?
Let me ask you this. Without the benefit of knowing what he does the rest of the way, because he's got 5 weeks left of the season. The Reds are not going to the playoffs, so we're going to see 5 more weeks of baseball, and that's how many games he's got to play for the rest of this season. The Reds have him under team control for next year, so he's coming back. He's not going to get non-tendered. I think that he's coming back easy. Is it okay if he's in a platoon with JJ Bleday?
Sure.
Because then that means that the Reds go out and get a center fielder that you can't.
It means
you're not going to platoon.
Or yeah. Hector Rodriguez has played in such a way that he's going to play. Like there's other things that have to go along with that. But if the best version of your outfield is you go back to platooning Dane Myers, that's great. And then if there's an injury, if there's a problem, if whatever happens, and Dane Myers can duplicate what he's doing right now, that's a valuable piece of insurance that you've got right there if something goes sideways. If
I do want to see more of him from every day, but I think that
if he's the everyday guy, it means they didn't go and do anything, though, Jeff. That's really,
and I
think that's really what it means.
That's going to be our stance for like this entire offseason, because the Reds have failed to address the outfield in a meaningful way for years and years and years. Can they go out and do the right things? Because a successful outfield will mean that Dane Myers and JJ Bleday can platoon. A unsuccessful offseason will mean one or both of those guys have to be everyday ball players next year.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, there is some baseball left to play, and the next series takes place in one of the best ballparks in baseball. If you have not been, you are missing out. The ballpark out there on the banks of McCovey Cove in San Francisco is beautiful, and the Reds are heading there, taking on the Giants. We're going to talk about that series coming up next. A big thank you to Amazon for this limited break. This is back to school season, and you can spend less on your kids with Amazon. We all know how crazy the back to school shopping experience can be. It starts with a few items on a list, and then suddenly you're shopping for supplies, clothes, lunch gear, tech. When you start buying supplies and find yourself asking, how did a calculator become one of the most expensive items in the shopping cart? I wasn't expecting math to start costing me so much money. But before you know it, that's exactly what happens. It feels like there's a life lesson in there somewhere. I'm still trying to figure all of it out, though. And then you get to the teacher list. When the teacher's school supply list arrives, it can feel like you're maybe trying to open an entire small office all by yourself versus just outfitting one first grader with school supplies. All of the costs for this add up so fast. But remember, when you do your back-to-school shopping with Amazon, Amazon's low back-to-school prices can help you spend less on your kids, because every dollar that you don't spend on them is a dollar you haven't spent on them. Do your back-to-school shopping with Amazon. Shop back-to-school on Amazon right now and spend less money on your kids. If you can't watch us here on YouTube, and why would you not want to watch us here on YouTube and see this mug every single day? But if you can't, we're also available in the audio feeds, every single podcasting platform that's out there. We're there. If you find one we're not on and you need us to be there, just message Jeff Carr. He definitely has a face for radio, and he will help get you the audio file that you want to have. Yeah, Jeff, that is definitely a face for radio. All right, let's talk about the San Francisco Giants. The Reds head out to the left coast. Nothing like a little mid-afternoon baseball for me here. I love it. I like to call it actual decent start time Reds. I know you guys all call it late night Reds.
Late night Reds, yeah.
Decent start time Reds for me out here in Hawaii. I'm worried about this series, Jeff. This feels like a total trap series. You look at all of the narratives surrounding the San Francisco Giants. They've been bad pretty much all year long. Buster Posey was expected to do great things out in Giants country, and it just hasn't quite come to fruition. The Giants ended up being a bit of sellers there at the break. They've really just not kind of put it all together. But the Reds are notoriously bad in West Coast swings. They don't play well on these West Coast trips. And the San Francisco Giants are a team that I feel like, if everything goes right, can beat the Reds in this series.
Yeah, this is a team that I think it's sneaky, the talent that they have. I mean, I don't think that we've seen the best out of guys like Rafael Devers or Jung-Hoo Lee or anything like that. And they've got some other dudes that they've been calling up and really trying to work through. This is a roster that if you were to go onto our favorite website, baseballreference.com, and look at all of their different statistics, this would be very reminiscent of some Reds years past where they have used such a number of players. I mean, just a crazy number. We're talking about
they're 25 games under 500.
A bad year, man. And like they were sellers before anybody else. They were sellers before it was cool in the year 2026, but they've played 62 different ball players this year, Steve. Like, this is a team that is trying to find itself and what comes next. I mean, I think they're kind of stuck with Devers' contract a little bit. That's probably why he wasn't traded. Willy Adames, I think, is coming up here soon on a contract year. Like, he's kind of had a down year for him, albeit he still has an OPS plus of 100, but that's not who Willy Adames typically is. And we know what Willy Adames typically is because he crushes the Reds. So the lineup is something to worry about. And then, of course, you got the typical pitching staff, albeit if you were to look at the probable starters for this series, Steve, they've got the lefty known as TBD pitching every single ball game for the Giants, while the Reds got, we got Chase Burns, we got Nick Lodolo, got Brady Singer. There's a nice setup for the Red starters here. I'm curious to see how they respond, though, because we have officially entered. I think that the trap moniker is perfect for this, but also we've entered, like, how much do you care about the rest of this season for this entire team? Like, are there going to be guys that take games off mentally? And I think this is the perfect series to really figure that out.
Yeah, the way that they lost the Diamondback series, they're really on a cusp of, we talk about what value does Terry Francona bring, what value does having that kind of a manager for a ball club bring. This is the time where, Terry's going to have to be working extra hard to keep things from getting away and getting embarrassing. He's going to have to keep this group focused. He's going to have to keep this group engaged in trying to win baseball games. I like the way the rotation shakes out. The problem is that the bullpen has been suspect at best. I feel like Chase Burns is going to give you a good start. Brady Singer is going to give you a good start. What is Lodolo going to do? We don't know. He's the wild card of this 3-game set. But what I do know is I have almost no faith in what comes next. Once those starters are out of the game, I have kind of given up on feeling good about anybody that's coming out of the bullpen right now.
Well, and that's one where, like, I do want to see Luis May continue to get those high leverage opportunities. I know he had a rough showing there on Sunday, but he's also had some good showings too. Like, can he bounce back from that? It's likely he's not going to pitch on Monday night. He pitched back-to-back days in Arizona. Like, what are you going to continue to get from Tony Santillan now that he's back? His first outing was a little bit shaky. Ultimately okay, but a little bit shaky. I would like to see more of him. I would like to see less of Sam Hall. At this point, I would almost like to see name a AAA relief pitcher here over Sam Hall, because every time he comes into the ballgame, I know somebody's going to get a walk, somebody's going to get a hit. How bad that hit's going to be, don't really know, but it's going to happen.
Would you entertain the idea of bringing Brandon Williamson up and sticking him out in the bullpen for the rest of the way?
I almost wonder if that is the plan though with Chase Burns. Like maybe Chase Burns gets 1 or 2 more starts and then you bring up Williamson, because the AAA season is going to be coming to an end here pretty soon. And so you won't have any more time for him to rehab or anything like that. So they're giving him as much time as possible, which I do love that fact. But I think that they will keep him stretched out as a starter. And he's going to be the, you know what, Chase, this is your limit. We don't want you to go any longer. Now we have Brandon Williamson, and we feel good about this.
And for me, I really struggle with this. But if they deem that Chase Burns should not start any more games, given the way this Red season has gone, given the position the team is in, if the Reds decide Chase Burns shouldn't start any more games, I don't think Chase Burns should pitch any more games. It's rotation.
No.
It's rotation or nothing for me, right? So
is that out there that he moves to the bullpen?
I occasionally see it. So I just want to put that out there. I do not want to see him in the bullpen. I don't think it does anything to protect his arm. If you're going to shut him down, shut him down. So to that point, yeah, you might be right. That might be exactly what they're looking at Brandon Williamson for. If that's not what happens, if they've decided they're going to let Chase Burns pitch all the way to the end of the year, then I think maybe I bring Brandon Williamson up and put him in the bullpen, and then we're done seeing Sam Moll.
If that happens, I hate it. But if that happens and they turn it into like a piggyback, I don't know that I understand that, because then you're limiting the amount of innings that he's pitching. I think if he's pitching, he's going full bore, and then he shouldn't pitch. If the answer is anything but he's going to give you as many innings as he possibly can. Like I don't like the idea of a piggyback situation. I don't like the idea of moving him to the bullpen. He is a starter. Period, plain and simple. You shut him down. We'll see you in Goodyear in February, or whenever spring training starts because of the lockout. But I think that is how they should work this. This likely, I think, is this going to be his last start? He's at 136.
He's already well beyond any innings he's thrown in one season in his entire life.
Well, yeah, but like we kind of earmarked like around 140 to 144. Right. So yeah, this should be his last start, unless he just has some rough one. And
they haven't said anything about this. There is nothing. There's not even some speculation from the team right now about what they're going to do, which concerns me that they're going to be like, let's roll with it. We got a long off season coming. Let's see what can happen.
If they were in something, I would make sense of that, but they're not. They shouldn't do that.
I totally agree. All right, Jeff, that is where we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for today. Thanks for making Locked On Reds your first listen each and every day. For the audio folks, go check out Locked On MLB. Sully's got you covered over there with Major League Baseball from a national perspective. Also, former Reds reliever Mike Stanton, back to the bullpen. His show over there gives you Major League Baseball from a retired player's perspective. And then you've got the folks at MLB Game Night. They're watching every single game, every single night, and looping in all of the experts of the Locked On MLB channels to keep you locked in so you don't have to watch every single game every single night. For the video folks, you're going to go to Locked On's first ever 24/7 national YouTube channel, where the experts of the entire network are talking ball 24 hours a day, 7 days a week over there. There's something for everybody. Jeff and I will be back in your feeds tomorrow, bringing all the news, the notes, the rumors, the reports, the information. Yeah, all those things to keep you locked on Reds every single day.